I was recently asked, how did I get into acupuncture? So it was actually, 40 years ago maybe, quite a long time ago. I was living up in Vancouver, Canada, and I got allergies, really bad allergies. So I did everything I normally, would do if I wasn't feeling well. I took some herbs, that didn't help. I changed my diet, that didn't help. I even went on a 3-day or a 4-day juice fast. That didn't help. My boyfriend at the time was a black belt martial artist, and he said, let's go down to Chinatown in Vancouver. But let's not go to the tourist part of Chinatown. So at that time, the practitioners that lived in this area behind Chinatown, so you had Chinatown, and then you had the real Chinatown. So we did. And it was fascinating, and I loved it. And we walked into one store, and it was a little a storefront, and on one side was an herb bar with gallon jars, leaves and plants and seeds and maybe even some animals, small little, everything dried, of course. And the rest of it, of course, was in a language I did not know, especially at the time, and everybody left. We walked in this store, and the people that worked there, they left. And so Jack and I are just kind of standing there, and he's 6 foot behind me, and nobody came out. And we thought, well, okay. So we left that store and walked in another one, almost an exact replica of the one before. Herb bar, all that, same thing. 10 minutes goes by, so we left, and we walked into the next one. We said, we're not going to leave. We are going to stay here until somebody else comes out. And so we did. 45 minutes later, you guys, wonderfully small Asian woman walks out, and I'm making achoo, and my eyes, and all this stuff like allergies. And she takes me to the back, and she has a little a chair and a little table, and she puts my arm on the table, and she takes my pulses. And she said, let me see your tongue. And she takes my pulse, and she goes, she walks me over to the herb bar. I sit down, it's like a counter. And she pulls out 3 things of butcher block paper, puts them down. She doesn't speak English. I don't speak her language. And she starts putting together these herbs, dried herbs. Brings it up, tapes it together, goes to her abacus, true story, with the beads. And she charged me whatever she charged me. It wasn't much at the time. And go home, get out of my store, boil it up. But mostly mimicking. And I'm fascinated. I am fascinated. I did this. I go home, I open these, I look at them all. I did what she said. I started taking them. They lasted, I don't remember, I think they lasted about 4 days, 3 or 4 days, and I went back. This time without Jack. And I went back. She looked at me. Sit there. Sits me down. Same thing. Oh. Butcher block paper, brings more herbs, takes them apart, put them on abacus, same thing, go home. So we did that about 3 or 4 times. So what is that, 2-3 weeks? I'm feeling better. I found a book that had her language, my language, and pictures. Because at that time, now you can find that, but at that time you could not find that. And I had been going back enough that now she has a name. Her name was Shirley. Thank you, Shirley, you changed my life. And I'm the joke. I walk in, nobody leaves, but they're kind of like, but that's okay, because I'm getting better. So this time I had my book with me, and I had a big purse, I had my book with me. She takes my pulses, we go over to the herb bar, and I said, Shirley, that one. Like, oh yeah. So, and then she said, that one, no, not today. No. I said, okay. And then I picked an herb she had never used. I went that, and she looked at me, and she went, and I picked up my book, and I put it on the table, and I opened it up, and she walked over next to me, and she got right into my face, and she looked into my eyes. It seemed like hours. It was probably about 45 seconds to a minute. It was a long time period. And then it was the briefest little, and she was my first teacher. My first teacher. The first time I had acupuncture was in their storeroom. Dark, probably a little dirty. I had never felt so good in my life. At the time, I wore contact lenses, so my eyes were often red. They became white. By this time, the allergy symptoms were gone. And by the way, I was living in an apartment that had black mold. And at that time, we did not know what black mold was. Of course, Vancouver, there's lots of dampness. And so I ended up moving out of there in about 3 or 4 months. And I got well. But at the time, I thought I was not good enough, definitely not smart enough, and too old. About 40 years ago, right? So I never went into acupuncture. And then much later on, I'm living down in Scottsdale area, and I got fibroid tumors. I went back to acupuncture, and she made those tumors, wasn't able to shrink, they were too big. But they were growing at 5 centimeters a month. They stopped growing, and it allowed me to look around and find another way other than a full hysterectomy, because at the time I still wanted children, which unfortunately I wasn't able to have. But at that time, I was working for a big corporation, international corporation, making 6 figures, doing very, very well. And I knew it was time to leave that life. I applied for acupuncture school in Austin, Texas, Academy of Integrative Medicine, and went off on one of those adventures having absolutely no idea where it was going to land. And here I am. Wouldn't have changed the journey for anything.